the Walt Disney Company 2025 annual meeting of shareholders, Bob Iger was pleased to announce a new film that had truly lit up the internet, being the sequel to the 2017 hit film Coco, now tentatively titled Coco 2. This is news I'm sure you've seen by this point. I'm not breaking any ground here, though I'd love to take a deep dive into all we know so far and provide a healthy amount of speculation for this film specifically, as well as what it could mean for other films in development. We really can't waste any time here because it's not every day we see a film announced from Pixar, though these announcements have become more and more common at these shareholder meetings, as 2 years ago we first got word of Toy Story 5. Similarly to that announcement, this film is still a ways out, though the release date has already caused quite a stir, seemingly internally. Initial posts of Coco's follow-up being in development stated Disney and Pixar's Coco 2 is officially coming to theaters in 2029. Though about 15 minutes after that, at least on Twitter, it was updated to Disney and Pixar's Coco 2 is officially in the works. This was an interesting slip-up that is pretty uncommon on Pixar's end, as I really can't think of anything else like this, because one has to assume they've had these social media posts locked and loaded for a little bit here. When Toy Story 5 was casually stated in a one-off line by Bob Iger, there wasn't even any official post to follow up for quite some time. There's some belief that this is an internal date that was accidentally posted, which could be the case, though I'd imagine for the sake of it being a shareholder announcement, they'd be more privy to hide that the release is so far away. Also, who knows what could go down in these next few years. Hopefully it's smooth sailing, but we just had all those strikes the other year and the pandemic before that. They may just be playing the cards closer to the chest a little bit just because of all that. I just think it's crazy a date was given in the first place since we didn't get one for Incredibles 3, which I'll come back to a little bit later on. To be honest, I was made aware of this project's existence not too long ago, but nothing beyond it being a sequel and its directors. But I assumed based on my understanding of the timeline it was going to release in November 2028, but now I guess I'm thinking June 2029 because right now at least it seems like the even years are going to be getting 2 films and the odd ones 1 since the Elio shakeup. This could all be leading to the studio eventually releasing 2 films a year because at the very least it seems though film output is going to be seeing a heavy increase, especially with the move away from streaming taking place as we speak. On the topic of directors though, we have Lee Unkrich and Adrian Molina, both serving as dual directors. Molina was the co-director on the first film, but I think after Elio and him moving to this project during that production, his position will have ascended. This also just helps to make sense of what priority project Molina was pulled to when that changeup happened. Lee Unkrich returning is major though. I'm interested in seeing if he sticks around the studio in a bigger way or if this is like a one and done after his 5 or so year retirement. He's a legend at the studio though, and I'm super excited to see his involvement here nonetheless. Alongside the directors, it was confirmed Mark Nielsen would be producing the film, who previously produced Toy Story 4 and last summer's Inside Out 2. This story is still probably in those early development stages at this point, but why not consider what this film could potentially be about? For one, it most certainly would involve the Land of the Dead once again, that is this franchise, and so it is going to have to take place once again during Dia de Muertos, at least in my opinion. There's already likely some concern that it would be retreading too much familiar ground with that alone, but there's still a lot I can see them doing. But I'm not going to act like I'm a screenwriter or anything. The film's title, Coco 2, is already being called into a fair amount of questioning, and at first I believed it could be a placeholder, withholding genuine plot points from the film. But then I remembered the first film ends with a Coco 2, Miguel's little sister Socorro, which is a name which typically has nicknames such as Coco. I believe it was also Mama Coco's actual name as well, and she was named after her. I believe that Miguel's little sister will be pretty integral to the plot. Probably not over shiny Miguel, but who really knows? She could. Though I think the story is going to involve them both going to the Land of the Dead for some reason, and we get to see the whole extended family once again, though this time a bit aged up. And we can see how Hector and Miguel's celebrity has grown in their respective lands as well. I also believe there's going to be a decent time jump here as well, like more than most of Pixar's sequels, because I'd imagine after he's done so much press for Disney at various expos and promoting the new cruise lines, Anthony Gonzalez is going to keep on playing the role of Miguel, despite his voice deepening. He was also just out there with Lee Unkrich filming those promotional videos. They seem to have a really good working relationship. I can't really see it going any other way than that. And because of this, I'd expect Miguel to be around 20 or older, just so they can age up our new Coco as well. But that's all my theorizing. What do you think about where this story could take these characters, and what do you want to see from them? And maybe more interestingly, what do you not want to see? I know for me, I'm most excited to hear what new songs will be featured. We were always robbed for not getting full versions of a lot of the first film's tracks, but I know they can deliver on this front yet again. Moving on, I'd like to talk about the prospects of another sequel announcement, because I had a whole video going over this about a year back, where the main point I was making was greenlighting franchises isn't necessarily a bad thing to do, but when it's the only films people know the studio is making because you announce them so far ahead of time, it gives a lot of ammunition to people that want to criticize this level of filmmaking. In between Toy Story 5 and Coco 2, there's probably going to be another 3 movies releasing, where at least 2 of them would be originals. But right now, you look at Pixar's release calendar and it's 60% sequels. And there probably won't be a new original movie announced until months after Hoppers, so the internet is sure to have a field day then. But I'm not stupid, I know they aren't going to get shareholders excited by showing off big budget original films from untested franchises. It's just the world we live in. Finding out this film is releasing seemingly in 2029 has a lot assuming Incredibles 3 will be in 27 or 28. But it's still so up in the air until Ray Gun releases and we get a better idea as to where Brad Bird is on the project. If it comes out in between, that would certainly give more merit to Pete Docter's sequel Every Other Film quote from a year back, but it seems like too quick of a turnaround in my opinion as of now. We do already know of Elio and Hoppers being the next 2 films releasing, so the studio hasn't and won't completely pivot to franchise filmmaking. We did get an open casting call for the Romani musicians for an unknown project I've yet to talk about on this channel, which seems really interesting already. And Enrico Casarosa is definitely working on something right now based on Doctor's quotes, which I suppose could be that project. But on the flip side, I still feel quite confidently that Monsters Inc. will be getting a follow-up, especially with other verticals focusing on the franchise. I do understand why some may be disappointed seeing less non-sequels from Pixar though, especially because I love seeing the new worlds they're always creating. Though I also believe the storytelling decisions I've seen for the sequels they've put out have continued to elevate the rich worlds they're set in. I often find myself apprehensive about the prospects of sequels to films I love, though I feel Pixar isn't going to rush it here and can tell the best story possible, and that's all I can hope for Coco 2 and whatever films they have in the pipeline. That's all for this little news roundup speculation think piece. Let me know what you think about all this news. I know it's quite the polarizing topic right now, so I'm just getting locked in for the next few years now. Thanks for tuning in as always. I appreciate you all for making it all the way to the end here, and I'll see you in the next one. Goodbye.